Apple's iPhone 16e has been around for roughly 4 months or so, and I've been using this device on and off since then, as a secondary phone at times and even my main device. And I have to say, I still really like this iPhone, and I think it's one of the best options out there for the price tag. Now, the iPhone 16e launched at $599, which was a lot higher than what we were anticipating, and Apple did get a fair share of criticism for that, but there seems to be lots of deals and promotions for this device, so honestly, you can most likely find it at a discounted rate. So, what exactly do you get for this price? Well, you honestly get one of the cleanest designs in an iPhone yet. I know this sounds crazy, but losing some of the cameras here does make the aesthetics super minimal and incredibly appealing. Unfortunately, you do end up missing some of those cameras, more on this later, but I gotta say, I often think of this device as one of the best looking iPhones currently out there. Now, rumors surrounding the iPhone 17 Air with its single camera system have me really intrigued and wondering how Apple's going to make that device look, and hopefully it's as clean and minimal as this one. I also think the size and weight of this device is pretty perfect. I mean, you do get a 6.1-inch display, which does not have ProMotion, and yes, that is a bit of a bummer, but I've often said on this channel that ProMotion is something you don't really need if you've never had it, if that makes sense. So if you're coming from like an iPhone 12 or even a 13 to a newer 16e, you never had ProMotion and you should be pretty used to that display, and it's going to be pretty much the same thing here. It won't really make a difference. I got used to no ProMotion pretty quickly as someone who has had it, and no dynamic island, which the latter is a little bit easier to swallow than the lack of 120 Hz, I'll be honest with you, but I'm making do here. Overall, the display is solid despite some of its limitations, but again, for those thinking about getting this phone, I don't think it'll really be that big of an issue for you. The phone has held up well, but I really haven't had too many drops or anything, so that's probably why. There's really hardly any scratches or nicks from daily use, and I carry this around with no case, so that's always good to see. Performance has also been absolutely fantastic, and really that's no surprise considering that it's running the latest A18 chip, though it is slightly binned down than the one that's found on the iPhone 16 or higher. For the normal people out there, and myself included, honestly, you really won't notice a difference with performance whatsoever. I can do pretty much everything I need to do on this phone that I do with others. I use it how I normally would. I run the Apple Intelligence features with absolutely no lag or hiccups, play games and hardware accelerated ray tracing, etc. And the 16e has just fantastic performance. The other new aspect of the 16e's internals is that it's the first iPhone to feature the Apple C1 modem. And this is probably not that big of a surprise to most of you out there, but I really haven't noticed a difference in my daily use, at least from a negative perspective when it comes to my device and the 5G data from my carrier. And I am on Verizon, and I do run into some weird issues with the network every now and then that I get on all of my other phones, and the iPhone 16e often comes across the same dead zones as my 16 Pro Max. But I do notice that it's a little bit more consistent in some of those sketchier areas than my other devices. The major difference is that the C1 is absolutely helping my battery life be incredible, which, oh, by the way, battery life has been fantastic on the 16e. I found it to be right in between the battery found on a 16 and 16 Plus. So better than the 16, but not quite with the 16 Plus. But for this size, I'll absolutely take it. So my guess is the C1 and the lack of ProMotion or always on display have probably helped the battery out quite a bit. It's not a perfect device though, at least not for me. I do miss the extra cameras you get with the other iPhone 16 models, but mostly the telephoto lens that I get on my iPhone 16 Pro Max. I often use that along with the main sensor quite a bit, and I rarely use the ultra wide. And I know I'm probably one of the weird ones out there, but that's why I wouldn't really get a 16 or 16 Plus over this, because I just don't need that second lens. I want a telephoto lens, and that unfortunately does not exist unless you get a Pro or Pro Max. The good news is the 48 megapixel sensor found on here is pretty good. It's just in line with the other ones out there, so you're gonna get some fantastic photo quality, and with some tricking of the sensor and some cropping, you do get a 2x optical zoom. And so you get 1x and 2x, and I found that the photos and videos on my 16e have been solid overall. So would love to hear from you what you think about the photos that you've been seeing. Let me know down in those comments. Now, one of the biggest gripes that I have had with the 16e when it first launched was the lack of MagSafe. I use MagSafe quite a bit for charging, and not really in like a fast charging kind of way. I don't need the, insane amount of wattage that comes with some of the MagSafe chargers, but mostly for the convenience of plopping it on a charging stand at night, having it docked up and letting it do its thing. Well, not having MagSafe kind of sucks. Sure, you get regular Qi charging, but the magnets for my docks and chargers at home are great, and I really like using that, and now it just doesn't work unless you figure out that there are tons of magnetic cases on Amazon that give you at least that magnetic portion of functionality back. You aren't going to get the effects of MagSafe from a charging perspective, but at least it stays on your dock at home without falling off. And for that, I am grateful. But come on, Apple, you need to figure out a way to get MagSafe in all iPhones moving forward, whether or not it's an E device or a Pro Max. I think it should be for everyone. Now, the iPhone 16e isn't the perfect phone for everyone, but it's a phone that I would absolutely recommend to everyone, especially if all you need is just a very, very solid iPhone experience without a few of the bells and whistles that you ultimately won't end up using a ton. If you're coming from something older than a 12 or even a 13, I think it's a no-brainer if you want to save some cash, get an updated chip with Apple Intelligence, an updated camera, and a great C1 modem for consistent cellular experience and excellent battery life, and so much more. I think this is a good phone for just about everyone out there. Of course, I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. What do you think? Is this something that you would pick up? Maybe over a 16 or 16 Plus or even a Pro model? Would love to hear from you down in those comments. This has been Dan with MacRumors. Thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you around in the next video.